On Reel to Reel, meet some of the people behind the Campaign for Human Development.
And meet the creator of the Wee Pals comic strip.
We have a performance by the Fountain Square Fools.
A true story of courage.
And this week we look at the Big Chill.
In our Arts Review segment.
Hello, I'm Sean Hughes Camp.
And I'm Monsignor Charles Minor. Welcome to this edition of Reel to Reel. Frequently here on Reel to Reel, we meet people and subject matter which require much more attention than we usually are able to give it on the subject. And so for these purposes, we come in studio to give us the opportunity to talk and expand the ideas. One such is the Campaign for Human Development. It's a national and local collection taken up yearly, this year on November 20th. To talk about this subject and its applications, we have invited to come to join us Brother Joseph Casassiri, an Augustinian brother who is a coordinator here in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia for the campaign. The social minister of St. Francis Xavier Parish in Philadelphia is Sister Mary Peter. Sister Mary Peter is the Franciscan Sisters, and she operates some of the programs that Brother will talk about, and she will amplify them for us. I want to say how delightful it is to have a chance to look into a big, broad-based project like this. Poverty is terrible. I'm beginning to experience some of it in our own parish by unemployment, and we know that there are difficulties that it involves. But you're seeing so much more of it than we could say in one experience. We'd like you to share some of the experience about the campaign. Brother Joe, what does the campaign really try to accomplish each year?
Each year the collection is taken up to help self-based community groups do things that will help them out of their poverty, to attack the root causes of poverty, so that those people can move themselves away from poverty and into the mainstream of American life and society.
That poverty has become almost astronomical with the recent cutbacks in social work and social participation of the government over the last couple of years. Have you seen much response to that in the Catholic areas that you're in, both of you?
Oh, most certainly in the campaign collection. For example, this year in Philadelphia, there was a dramatic increase in the collection. I think as a result of people's awareness of what Reaganomics has done for poor people. It's expanded poverty in America. So people have responded with their financial resources.
And yet, Sister, earlier we were talking and you were saying that even though there has been an increase in the Philadelphia collection, Philadelphia still ranks in the lower levels of the contributors.
That's right. To my understanding, we are among the lowest in the nation in our contributions. But going back to the idea of the poor people in the city of Philadelphia, we do have a different type of poverty which has grown up with Reaganomics. Previously we had people that we could very clearly pinpoint where they lived and what types of people there were who were of the poor people. Today we have a different type. We have the elderly who are living on a very limited income, who have really become the poor of America because they can't really function as they have been used to. We also have the people who are now unemployed, who have always been self-sustaining and now are living on unemployment compensation, and they really cannot sustain themselves on the low income that they have.
But to attack poverty from all the employment problems is a different subject than what the human development does. You don't provide employment for people.
No, we don't provide employment. We provide programs where people can learn to become employable. For example, training interview techniques, developing job banks in neighborhoods, things of that nature.
How about in the parish ministry, Sister? Where do you see the campaign helping you, for instance, or other ministries you know?
Well, very specifically in our own parish this year, we have been funded by the local Campaign for Human Development for a program where we have unemployed men who have marketable skills. They're able to do carpentry or minor repairs or painting, such things as that, going out to help the elderly who cannot afford to have this type of thing done, and in many instances just cannot get a company who will do it. The larger companies will only come into a neighborhood when there are large jobs that need to be done. The small job like repairing a light switch just is not possible. So we have the men who are unemployed doing the jobs for the people who are not able to get the jobs done, and in some instances being paid through them or through the Campaign for Human Development funds to go ahead and do the type of work that is needed.
Your sister mentioned that the funding can come to, say, a program she might be involved in. The request you must get for funding, say, in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, must be kind of extraordinary.
It's very high. For example, this year alone, we received 42 requests from community-based organizations for funding. But because of limited resources, we're only able to fund 21 of those projects, 15 of which, by the way, were parish-based programs.
Now, when you do fund a project, is this an indefinite funding?
It's for a 2-year period. By the end of the second year, our hope is that that organization will be able to stand on its own feet and go on its own. And then we're able to give money to new programs, new ideas, so that the campaign isn't stagnated in one area, but can move into many areas of need.
It would be interesting to kind of follow through with what happened to some of the people who were funded for a 2-year project and period who are now no longer funded. What are they doing now?
Many of them have received funding from private foundations, government funding, city, state, local monies to help them expand their programs. CHD funding is more or less seed money, money to help an organization get started.
And it does grow? It has grown since?
Yes, if we look at the city of Philadelphia, you have organizations that are very active in the city. Philadelphia Council of Neighborhood Organizations, better known as PCNO, is one which was originally founded by the campaign, or funded by the campaign. And then you also have the Philadelphia Unemployment Project, which has been funded nationally by the campaign, along with various neighborhood organizations, which originally were founded in conjunction with parishes and have spun off and are now, not only are they getting funding from other organizations, but they also are generating funds within their own neighborhood communities in order to fulfill the needs that they have in their neighborhoods.
If I were a Philadelphia parishioner, what actually would happen to my money and how much of it would be returned home?
Of the total collection, 75% is sent to the National Conference of Bishops in Washington, the national headquarters for the campaign. 25% remains in the local diocese. This year, of the 75% of the money that was sent into Washington, about 77% of that money came back to Philadelphia to fund programs from the national office. The other 25%, as I mentioned, funded 21 local programs in the Archdiocese. I would like to, if possible, highlight 2 of those programs that were funded.
Would you go right ahead?
Okay. St. Agnes Hospital in South Philadelphia has a very unique program, a mobile hospital, a hospital on wheels. This program goes into various neighborhoods throughout South and Southwest Philadelphia, and they do free health testing, screening, and then a follow-up with the doctors at the hospital. And it's geared mainly to the people living in the neighborhoods who cannot afford to go into a hospital for health care for one reason or another, or who are intimidated by the presence of going into a large metropolitan hospital.
How about a specific neighborhood project then?
Okay, right now we are working with the St. Thomas Aquinas Parish doing a literacy program for the Oriental community in learning English as a second language, and for the black and white adult community in learning basic reading and writing skills. And getting back to the job problem, we're helping these people with this course also to learn interview techniques, how to prepare a resume, and hopefully to engage in successful interviews for meaningful employment.
It sounds like a lot of money to talk about, say, $10,100,000 last year, and a 13-year campaign that has already been sponsored by the bishops of the country. However, there's still so much more to be done.
Definitely.
Do you see what would be the most important request you would make of people to contribute to this campaign this year?
I would say the very important reason is because of the cutbacks in federal monies and state and local monies. Many people were used and in need of those monies. They no longer have that resource and they need it from someplace. So if our people can help them with it, that would be terrific.
Thank you. Brother Joe, Sister Mary Peter, I can't tell you how much we can thank you for coming with us today to hopefully to open up ideas to people around us to respond to the Campaign for Human Development. This campaign is in your family, it's in your neighborhood, in your home. And so is the poverty in your family, your neighborhood, your home. please respond prayerfully to all the things we asked and talked about today. We simply scratched the surface. Now we must really dig in and give a hand up, not a hand out. Stay tuned now for the things to follow on Reel to Reel, as we present our first arts review of the new season.
Meet the creators of the Wee Pals comic strip
Enjoy a performance by a Christian theater group,
and see the words courage and perseverance come to life.
Interviewing our guests here in the studio is not the only different thing we're doing tonight on Reel to Reel. We're going to introduce you now to our new arts review critic, Kathleen Sheehan. Kathleen, we're very happy to have you on Reel to Reel.
Thank you, Monsignor. I'm truly pleased to be here.
How do you feel about the arts review segment?
I think the arts review segment is really important to our viewer. It offers them a different perspective on the arts in general.
We're looking forward to your first review. What's it going to be?
My first review is about the new film, The Big Chill, which is very trendy, very popular, and about the late 60s.
We'll come back to you in just a few minutes. Meanwhile, please stand by because we have a dramatic group based in Cincinnati called the Fountain Square Fools, and they have a special presentation for you on fear.
Fear is father to our sin. Fear is mother to our shame. Fear in the itching palm of the despairing poor is the same fear in the clenched fist of the dying rich. This Judas kiss kindles a twisted kindness. It perverts our handshakes, our hugs, our embrace. We have no choice but to pray for a peace not born of fear, a peace that the world can never give. Peace, born of forgiveness and the courage to live.
Going to The Big Chill is like going to a socially chic, self-conscious cocktail party. It is superficial, pretentious, and yet sadly seductive. Packed shoulder to shoulder with trendy strangers, all excellent performers, you eavesdrop on attractive, engaging people you'd like to meet, people you'd like to pretend you know, people you'd like to think you are. Intense, alcohol-laced conversation with a role-playing stranger is mistaken for personal intimacy. Irresistible hors d'oeuvres tempt you with the illusion of fulfillment, but like some Chinese food, leave you empty and dissatisfied an hour later in search of a real meal. The stylish ambiance, a nostalgic soundtrack, and some breathtaking photography mask the film's basic lack of substance. The film's true deceit lies in its very charm. Consider The Big Chill's secular, modern-day notion of a traditional wake. A group of one-time college classmates and late 60s radicals are reunited for a weekend. Alex, a former pivotal member of the group, has committed suicide because life didn't meet his expectations. Traditionally, death provides a time for personal clearing, an opportunity to find order in perceived disorder, a time for reassessment and personal transformation.
So how's your life?
Oh, great. How's yours?
Not so great.
Oh, we're telling the truth.
You heard about my divorce.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, Sam.
But these people fear death, fear growth, fear change. All are caught in their own narcissistic, self-determined purgatory. Like Alex, none of them has a reservoir of hope for the future. None has a spiritual anchor as a result of life experience.
You know, you'd never get a crowd this big at my funeral.
Oh, Karen, come on, I'll come and, I'll bring a date.
I know this is hard for you, but it's all beautiful. Yeah. We put on a great funeral here.
Yeah, maybe I'll have mine here, too.
The premise of the movie, that the transition from idealistic youth to pragmatic middle age is difficult, certainly is true. But the conclusion that these characters display personal growth is false. These people sense life has no meaning, pretend that it does, but never know quite what that pretense means for them. Their central redeeming myth, their substitute religion, was their participation in the 60s. The people of the Big Chill stand paralyzed in permanent adolescence, unable to move beyond their past to touch the transcendent. The Big Chill says that our prevailing belief system today is, in fact, non-belief. The life of faith, of spirit, of community, of commitment is nowhere evident in this film. Perhaps these gifts are now too radical for the radicals of yesterday. I'm Kathleen Sheehan for Arts Review.
I have been talking to other cartoonists about, let's portray the real world. Let's put some black kids in your comic strip. Well, here I was with an old black strip.
But the Bible tells us through Christ all things are possible, and I've been an athlete long enough to realize the intensity and difficulty of this project.
Living as we do in an information-obsessed world, we sometimes miss the meaning behind the message. Next up, we're going to meet two men, each with a message, who have found very effective ways to communicate to the world what's on their minds.
Artist Maury Turner created the Wee Pals comic strip 18 years ago, and its rainbow power theme has gained enough popularity to spread from the Sunday comics to a Kid Power television series. Turner's concern for ethnic and social integration comes through in his characters' personalities and the situations in which he places them.
I didn't create this comic strip to sell. I created it as a joke. And as a joke, I was going to redraw the Peanuts cartoon as all black kids and say, this is Peanuts from a black perspective. I had been talking to other cartoonists about, you know, let's portray the real world. Let's put some black kids in your comic strip. Well, here I was with an all-black strip. So if they're wrong, so was I. So I started to, quote, integrate the strip. The smartest thing I ever did in my life.
The Wee Pals often tackle social issues in history lessons in addition to their continual campaign to integrate ethnic groups through Rainbow Power, the power which Turner hopes to spread to children everywhere. He devotes quite a bit of his time working with organizations such as the United Cerebral Palsy Foundation and the Campaign for Human Development. He also enjoys speaking at schools, where he encourages kids to take advantage of their education.
And you must know how to read. That's the most important thing about being a cartoonist, is reading, 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 because that's where your ideas come from. Even arithmetic, math, basic math comes into play. Rainbow power, as Nipper would describe it, that's the power of all colors working together. There's value in your ethnic background, not only for yourself, but there's value in other background for you. I mean, I think that's beautiful.
I decided to make a decision because I knew what they were talking about, I didn't have it in my life. And like I say, that night before I went to bed, I just confessed it.
While serving as a combat medic in Vietnam, Bob Wieland stepped on an 82mm anti-tank mortar round that easily could have ended his life. After surgeries, blood transfusions, high fever, and a case of malaria, Bob regained consciousness to find himself a paraplegic.
It was interesting because initially I was so weak I couldn't sit up in bed. I was so weak I couldn't lift a 5-pound weight. And the doctors came to my bedside and they handed me that 5-pound weight, and I tried to do what's known as a tricep extension, just to extend my arm straight up. I was unable to do it. And there was a little rebellion in me at that time, and I told the doctors, well, all right, I said, you'll see. One day, I believe I'm going to go on and break the world record in the bench press, and I believe I'm going to do it against able-bodied individuals.
Bob ignored the skepticism of his doctors and worked until he broke the world record for his weight division with a 303-pound bench press. Although Bob had competed against able-bodied men, the Amateur Athletic Union refused to award him the World Championship title.
What was interesting, the AAU, or the Amateur Athletic Union, quickly rushed up to me and they said, Bob, what a fantastic lift. However, I thought, well, why would they be saying however? Why wouldn't they just say, Bob, what a fantastic lift? I said, well, what do you mean? They said, well, didn't you read the rules and regulations on page 32, paragraph 3, sentence 2? It says that if a man breaks a world record entering the competition and does it without wearing shoes, he must be disqualified. And, oh, I looked down and, wouldn't you know it, I forgot to wear my shoes that day. Hi. Hello.
Bob broke the world record 5 times and never received official recognition. The 6th year, he was banned from any further competition. In spite of the major obstacles he has encountered, his sole objective is to share his faith with everyone he meets. His desire to help hungry people in America and abroad prompted him to undertake the most difficult athletic challenge of his life. Bob Wieland is walking across America on his hands.
What keeps us going is the fact that we focus on Jesus Christ. We enjoy what we're doing. It's His love that keeps us going, because I truly believe in my heart that if we were going across America for any other reason, we would not make it. Because in essence, what is being accomplished is impossible. But the Bible tells us through Christ all things are possible, and I've been an athlete long enough to realize the intensity and difficulty of this project. But again, I can't say enough of how our Lord takes us through every day.
Isaac Ruiz Jr. has been walking with Bob since he started from Knott's Berry Farm in September 1982.
He's an inspiration to the people that have legs, the able-bodied people. He's an inspiration to the Vietnam veterans, you know, that kind of look up to him now. And, you know, he's an inspiration to athletes all over the world, you see. Because he says, hey, they told me I couldn't do it, but I forgot to listen.
Money people contribute to the walk goes to organizations combating world hunger. In 14 months, Bob hopes to take the 6 million steps that will bring him to the Capitol building in Washington, D.C.
Well, we have a saying that through faith in God, determination, and dedication, there's nothing a person cannot achieve.
A fact that didn't come out in our discussion about the Campaign for Human Development is that 60,000 to 70,000 people in Pennsylvania have been dropped from the public assistance rolls this year alone. Most of these people are still unemployed.
Therefore, we should really support the Campaign for Human Development, because it is a system whereby they address the problem not only for the moment, but for the future as well.
Next week, we'll learn how a foundation spreads sunshine to special kids.
And we'll visit with people who are in search of a more perfect lifestyle.
2 of those people will perform an original song for us.
And Father Walt Nolan will discuss the church and nuclear war.
Thanks for being with us tonight, and we look forward to seeing you next week on Reel to Reel.
Goodbye, and God bless you.